Warning, the following podcast contains logic, laughter, liberty, and a total lack of safe spaces. Side effects may include critical thinking, eye rolls at CNN, and the sudden urge to start a small business or punch a commie. Listener discretion is advised, especially if you're easily triggered or still think 1984 was just a novel.
Bill Maher finally said what we've all been screaming for 5 years, and the woke mob is scrambling like they just saw a Gadsden flag.
Jasmine Crockett wants to muzzle reporters like she's running PR for North Korea.
Cancel culture ate itself this weekend, and honestly, I brought popcorn.
From Hollywood hissy fits to Hillstaff freakouts, we've got it all. Let's ride. Welcome back to Data and Dissonance, your 5 p.m. ride home where common sense isn't canceled, free speech isn't optional, and if you're still wearing a mask in the car alone, we're praying for you. I'm your host, Artie Roy III, and today we're diving headfirst into the culture crack-up that's eating the left from the inside out. First up, Bill Maher versus the woke mafia. Yep, when even HBO's favorite atheist says enough, you know the narrative's cracking. Then we head to Capitol Hill, where Representative Jasmine Crockett allegedly tried to shut down an article before it hit the press. Spoiler alert, that's not how freedom of the press works, sweetheart. Plus, our Patriot Minute honors the unexpected heroes holding the line. And as always, we close out with long-form final thoughts to give you something real to take with you. Today's episode is brought to you by the Caleb Rourke Thriller Series. Fast-paced, no BS thrillers for people tired of sugar-coated stories. Start with the Covenant Protocol. Follow up with the Prophet Directive, and get ready for Book 3, Black Echo Rising. If you like spies, conspiracies, and zero tolerance for weak men, this series delivers. Let's kick things off with segment 1, because when Bill Maher becomes the voice of reason, it's officially opposite day in America. All right, welcome to the Monday Drive. 15 minutes of facts, fire, and flipping the narrative upside down. If you've ever wanted to see a liberal eat his own, today's your lucky day. Bill Maher, yep, that Bill Maher, is back in the headlines for dragging the online outrage mobs through the dirt. What's got the TikTok crowd clutching their pearls? A pair of jeans, and a gorgeous actress. Let's kick it off with Daniel.
You know it's getting bad when Bill Maher, the patron saint of smug liberals, starts sounding like a regular on Timcast. He absolutely torched these social justice keyboard commandos for trying to cancel Sydney Sweeney over an American Eagle ad because, brace for this, she's too attractive and not diverse enough. I mean, really, this is what they're losing sleep over. They don't want representation, they want replacement, just not of their own narratives. Maher pointing out that beauty isn't a crime, and that not every ad has to be a DEI coloring book. That hit a nerve. And what I love is that it's coming from inside the left-wing house. He didn't just push back, he called them out as the new moral Puritans. The woke cult doesn't like when the heretic still holds a microphone.
Let's bring in Rachel. Red-pilled, real, and ready to remind us that common sense hasn't completely left the building.
Maher's not wrong here, and trust me, I rarely say that. The fact that Sydney Sweeney got backlash for being in jeans shows how performative and empty this new wave of activism really is. The far left doesn't want justice. They want leverage. They weaponize offense to control outcomes. But when someone like Maher, someone who's long been embraced by the left, says, "No, I won't bend the knee," that terrifies them. This wasn't about a model or commercial. It was about showing who's allowed to speak and who's not. And Maher, for once, showed some backbone. Maybe because even he is sick of being policed by 20-somethings with pronouns and zero perspective.
Brian, I already hear you chuckling. What's your MAGA-laced take?
Oh, I'm loving this. Bill Maher is slowly realizing what we've been saying since 2015. These people are nuts, and they'll eat you alive the moment you say something real. Maher's rant wasn't just cathartic, it was prophetic. He basically said, you can't build a society on feelings and hashtags. Welcome to the fight, Billy boy. We've been holding the line while you were sipping soy lattes and pretending Orange Man was the problem. Now you see what happens when the inmates run the asylum. Keep going. Say the quiet part louder. Or better yet, come on, day-day dissonance. We'll brew the coffee. You bring the contrarian heat.
When even old-school liberals start drawing the line, you know the tide's shifting. Maher called out the hypocrisy, the fear-based groupthink, and the emotional fragility of modern activism. And he did it in jeans. Stick around, because next up, Congresswoman Crockett allegedly tried to muzzle the media like she was starring in a Netflix special called Authoritarians Anonymous. All right, Gen X fam, it's time for the merch drop of the day. We're talking Patriot drip with punchlines. Whether you want to rock a hoodie that says, "Built different, raised right," sip coffee from a mug that tells the world, "Liberal tears taste better hot," or slap a bumper sticker on your rig that reads, "I identify as non-binary," we've got you. New drops hit this week. 3 original coffee blends roasted in the USA. Patriotic mugs, trucker hats, and hoodies. Gen X gear that says what you're thinking. Head to day-dissonance.printify.me and grab something that speaks your language. Your support helps fuel this podcast, fund the fight, and help my mom keep her house. Don't wait. The left ain't the only ones who know how to organize. Welcome back to Data and Dissonance, where we don't just stir thought, we pour gasoline on groupthink. Segment 2 takes us to the hallowed halls of Congress, where Representative Jasmine Crockett, queen of TikTok quips and MSNBC soundbites, allegedly tried to strong-arm a journalist into silence. You know that free press the left loves so much? Apparently, it comes with a warning label. Do not question the chosen ones. Daniel, break this down for us.
Crockett's whole shtick is performative activism wrapped in rainbow hashtags and designer eyewear. But when The Atlantic, not exactly a right-wing rag, dared to dig into her shady campaign practices and odd alliances, she reportedly tried to get the article pulled before it even dropped. That's not just insecurity. That's authoritarian impulse with a side of panic attack. The left wants you to believe they're champions of truth, until the truth hits too close to home. Then suddenly, it's all closed doors and off-the-record threats. This is what happens when narcissism meets power. An elected official trying to suppress a reporter for doing journalism. That's the stuff of banana republics, not brunch liberals. And it's not just Crockett. She's a symptom of a party that treats criticism like violence and accountability like oppression.
Rachel, this has you written all over it. Take the wheel.
What's wild here is the hypocrisy. Crockett built her brand on transparency and calling people out. Remember when she went viral for clapping back during committee hearings? Now she's allegedly pressuring journalists behind the scenes like a DC mob boss in heels. The Atlantic piece wasn't even a hit job. It just connected dots she didn't want visible. But instead of responding with facts or refuting it publicly, she allegedly tried to squash it quietly. That's not strength. That's cowardice in Gucci frames. And for the record, if a Republican pulled this stunt, it'd be front page news for a week. But because it's one of theirs, crickets. Silence is their favorite form of complicity. Crockett doesn't want scrutiny. She wants immunity. And if this is what she does when a reporter asks questions, imagine what she'd do with real power.
All right, Brian, I know you've been waiting to pounce.
Let me get this straight. A Democrat congresswoman allegedly trying to kill a story from The Atlantic and no one on the left bats an eye? If Trump sneezed near a journalist, CNN would call it an assault on the Constitution. But Crockett? Oh no, she's just misunderstood. Give me a break. These people worship media until media dares to ask a question. Then it's all damage control and phone calls behind closed doors. Crockett is just the latest in a long line of leftist elites who think rules don't apply to them. But here's the truth. You don't get to play both sides. If you want to be a media darling, you don't get to act like a Soviet censor when the headlines don't go your way. She got caught trying to bury a story, and now she's hoping no one remembers by next week. Too bad. We've got receipts, and we're not shutting up.
In the end, it's simple. If you fear the press, maybe don't run for office. If you dodge accountability, maybe don't preach transparency. And if you try to silence dissent, you're not progressive, you're just power-hungry in a pantsuit. When the left censors its own, you know the narrative's cracking. But don't worry, we'll keep the volume up. After this quick merch drop, it's time for a moment of gratitude in today's Patriot Minute. This week's Patriot Minute honors a tiny Texas library that made a massive stand. The Llano County Public Library. Now I know what you're thinking. A library? But hear me out. In a time when schools, media, and even tech companies are folding faster than a cheap lawn chair under federal pressure, these folks dug in their boots and said, "No, we won't be bullied into submission." Earlier this year, a federal judge tried to force them to put back books they had removed from children's sections. Books that, according to local parents, contained inappropriate content, gender ideology, and politically biased narratives. The court wanted compliance, but Llano County chose conviction. The board voted to shut the entire library system down, rather than compromise their community's values. Imagine that. Closing their doors temporarily not out of weakness, but as a line in the sand. They've since fought back through appeals, with local support pouring in. Not from Washington, not from New York, but from everyday Americans who believe in parental rights, local control, and the radical idea that kids should be protected. That's what patriotism looks like in 2025. It's not always a battlefield. It's sometimes a bookshelf. It's not always a uniform. It's a librarian saying, "We will not bend to your agenda." So to the patriots of Llano County, we see you. We honor your courage. And we're reminded that liberty isn't loud. It's just unshakable. All right, crew, as we coast into the last stretch of today's ride, it's time for final thoughts. Today, we watch the narrative guards slip, first with Maher turning the outrage mob on its head, then with Rep. Crockett allegedly trying to muzzle the press like some DC diva gone rogue. Truth hurts, and that's exactly why we're here. Let's kick it to Daniel.
You know what stood out to me today? The panic. These people, whether they're media darlings or congressional reps, they aren't acting like leaders. They're acting like gatekeepers whose gates are falling apart. Maher dared to speak the obvious, and Crockett allegedly tried to silence the inconvenient. Same instinct, different costume. It's all about control. But here's the twist. The more they clamp down, the more obvious it becomes that they're afraid. And when the elite start fearing questions, that's when real change begins. So yeah, let them scramble. Let them panic. We're not going anywhere, and we're not shutting up.
And that's the tinfoil-free version, folks. Rachel, your take?
What I saw today was a culture that's so obsessed with performance, it forgot how to take responsibility. Maher calling out performative outrage wasn't brave, it was overdue. And Crockett allegedly trying to kill a story? That's not savvy, it's shady. This whole game the left plays, where they virtue signal in public and pull strings in private, it's unraveling. You can't control the story forever. Eventually, the truth leaks out. Whether it's through a podcast, a reporter with a spine, or a random mom on Facebook with better research skills than CNN. Truth finds a way. It always has.
And finally, Brian, give us the MAGA thunder.
Oh, it's real simple. The woke left is imploding under the weight of its own lies. They built this fragile tower of narratives, BLM halos, trans theology, media worship, and now even guys like Maher are grabbing a sledgehammer. Crockett's stunt, textbook tyrant behavior. But guess what? The free press doesn't serve politicians. It serves us. And when one of theirs gets caught trying to rig the rules, that's when we go louder, not quieter. These people hate dissent because it breaks their illusion of consensus. But this show right here, this is where dissent lives and thrives.
What we saw today isn't just politics. It's the slow unraveling of a broken culture. A culture that built its identity on outrage, but has no idea what to do when the mob turns inward. A culture that praises transparency but panics when someone turns on the lights. Bill Maher's not a hero, and Jasmine Crockett's not a villain in a vacuum, but they're symptoms. One chose to finally say what needed to be said, and the other, if the reports are true, chose to pull the plug when the truth hit too close. And this is the game we're all stuck in now, isn't it? Where speaking plainly is dangerous. Where asking questions gets you labeled. Where saying, "I don't buy this," is somehow radical. But here's the good news. People are waking up. Not all at once, but enough. Enough to matter. Enough to call bullshit when we see it. And enough to know that this right here, this show, this moment, this movement, it's not about clicks or trends. It's about clarity. It's about pushing back when the system expects you to stay quiet. I didn't start this podcast to be safe. I started it because I was tired of watching people get shamed for thinking. I started it because truth matters. Even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. And I started it because I watched too many people I care about get bulldozed by institutions that pretend to know what's best while failing at the basics. So if you're listening to this on your drive home, just know, you're not alone. You're part of something louder, stronger, smarter. You're part of a tribe that refuses to be gaslit, guilt-tripped, or guilt-silenced. And tomorrow, we're going even deeper. We're heading to the southern border. Not the one they show on sanitized cable news, but the one where families are broken, cartels are cashing in, and American citizens are the last ones being considered. So buckle up. Tomorrow's going to get real, and until then, remember to speak truth, stir thought,